I live by your choices. Good night, good night, good night. I was having a little difficulty starting up just now, so I had to stop and restart a couple of times. So here we are. Hey Sylvester, good night. So hey Chanel. Right here, but starting up was a little bit problematic. Hey Swan. Hey Velda, good night. Okay, so I would need y'all to help me to share the live because, as you know, we're doing things a little bit different, and some people still in catch on. But what kind of nasty people I have here on Facebook? What kind of trouble is this? People crazy, you know. People crazy. Okay. So tonight we have a few things to talk about, but I want to start off by expressing condolences to the family of CJ. Hey Dolores, hey Holly. CJ lost his life recently, as everybody in here should know by now, through very tragic circumstances. He was knocked off of his bike and run over by a police vehicle. I'm putting it as it is. He's not here to tell his story, and I'm not going to try to pacify anything or to make anybody feel less ashamed of what they've done or what they're trying to do or what they're going to do. He was fortunate enough, or his family was fortunate enough, his mother was fortunate enough, if you could even use that word, to have him have enough strength and the mental capacity to say exactly what happened to him. And when you listen to the mother relay the story on Hot 97, I think it was, and you listen to what she said that he said, you know that she didn't know what she was talking about, in the sense that what he described for her was not something that she had first-hand knowledge about. So you knew from listening to her that she was simply telling us what he told her. You know, it's like, for instance, if you're a, what should I say? I'm looking for something. Whatever field you're in, and you're trying to tell somebody about that particular field or something that happened, you're going to use certain terms, and somebody who is not in that field might not be too familiar with those terms, and so you could get a little stumbling, a little tumbling from the relaying of the story. And you got that from her. She was genuinely simply saying what he said. I mean, this is what he said, so I'm telling you what he said. This is what he called the thing that he saw. I don't know what that thing is. That's what he said. And I've said to a number of persons that it would be good to see who really and truly wants justice for CJ. And I say that because too often we have dropped the ball. When that shooting took place in Camden Park, when the civilian and the police officer, when they were killed, Colin John, Commissioner of Police, I can't forget this, on the spot, the very same day, did an interview. And I found it was the most reckless, unprofessional, idiotic thing for Commissioner of Police to do. He stood there on that interview and said, plain as day, that the police officer was killed by the civilian, and so the other policemen returned the fire. Now, this is without investigation, without any sort of ballistics, without any sort of tracing of anything. He, as Commissioner of Police, stood there and said that this is what happened. The civilian killed the police officer, and the other police officers killed the civilian. Then you start hearing, oh, there was videotapes, but hold on a minute for me, please. Yes, thank you. Yes, Sylvester, very unprofessional. I mean, I sat there and I'm like, on what grounds could you justify your statement that the police killed the young man because the young man killed the police officer? No investigation, none whatsoever, because this is fresh on the crime scene. I don't even think the bodies were moved as yet. I don't even think the bodies were gone. And that's him. Now, this is the same police commissioner, not the same police officers, but same police force who covered up Ashel and Kareem's involvement in the shooting of Mr. John. And that's partly why Ashel and Kareem don't have a criminal record. But as far as I'm concerned, up in here, Ashel and Kareem are criminals. And again, I'm not going to pacify anything for anybody, because we all know how that thing went down. That was one big farce. Because if you could go and shoot a man and then call the prime minister after you don't shoot the man, we knew where that was going. We knew exactly where that was going. It was going nowhere. It was going nowhere fast. And so again, I'm going to say, I want to see who is going to really demand justice for CJ. I thought CJ a couple of years ago while I was at the Bishop's College, Kingston, I thought him at shorty, loved to grin and loved to eat bread and chicken. Well, bakes and chicken it was. Full of life. Thoroughly enjoyed art. Participated in all my art sessions and was always willing to do extra stuff. And when you look at those videos, you see what I'm talking about. You see this young man who is just full of life. Full of life. I can't say that he was a troublemaker in my class. I can't say that. If I were to say that, I'd be lying. And one life just snuffed out like that. And I had a discussion with a friend of mine this morning, talking about, CJ should have complied with what the officers asked him to do and so forth. Now, the thing is, we don't know how they asked him to do anything. We don't know when they asked him. But we know the police officers that we have. I know the police officers that we have. I have dealt with them firsthand. And if, for instance, I was the kind of person who didn't know my rights, I could have ended up in all kind of situation with our policemen. Take, for instance, the day when they came here to arrest me. Well, not to arrest me, sorry. The day they came here, inviting me to the station, inviting me, And I said to them, okay, I will come with you. But first of all, there are certain things I need to finish here. I need to secure something for my daughter to eat, have a shower, pack up my stuff, whatever. I am coming with you. meaning that I'm giving up my freedom. I'm willingly coming to the station with you. You want to have a conversation? I am coming. And one of them is come beat on my door. Oh, I must open up the door because they don't have to stamp out here. So I'm like, so you want to be in my house? Not my house. You don't have to stamp out there. But ensure that if you come in here, you come in here lawfully. Now, some other person might have just opened up the door, and while they're putting on, their clothes and getting ready, or whatever the case is, there are these policemen with guns, whatever, up and down their house parading, putting whatever in whatever nook and cranny, doing God knows what. Because I only have one pair of eyes, right? Just like how anime could say that Francis from CID, Clausen Francis, came into her room while she was putting on her panties. We don't know how they approached the young man. We don't know what they said to him. We don't know. But the fact remains, they chased him. And in the international world, because we like to claim how we're so developed in this country, right? And the RAL fights, especially those in diaspora, like to talk about how the country is so developed. But yet when they come home here and they try to get a passport, it's taking them longer than the time they have for vacation to get the passport. But the country is so developed. You don't chase bikes. And if our police are being properly trained at the training school, they would know this. You don't chase bikes. Because the simplest touch, that's it. It could result in tragedy, as we've seen here now. And I also rest this incident soundly at the feet of Ralph Everard Gonsalves. And nobody's asking me to say these things. I'm saying how I feel. Now, CJ's mother is one of his employees. He knew that the child was in need of medical attention. Good night to all the newcomers. He knew this. Nobody had to tell Ralph this. Ralph wasn't getting this information through a friend, through a brother, through a sister, cousin, an auntie, and then Ralph was getting this information direct. So he knew of the situation, and he knew that there was nothing here at Milton Cato Memorial Hospital to save that child. When Ralph faked his bus head, what was the first thing he did? In 2021, what's the first thing he did? He jumped on a plane. But I almost forgot to have to send this invitation here to somebody. Hold on. He jumped on a plane and he went to Barbados. That's what he did. He packed up a doctor from the hospital, one of them who doing the COVID, I call it, the vaccine pass, whatever, exemption, whatever. And they went to Barbados. And Ralph knew he didn't get a bus head. But on the state's expense, we flew this faker to Barbados. My taxpaying dollars, your taxpaying dollars, flew that lying faker to Barbados. And he knew he ain't had no bus head. He knew that. But he went to Barbados for an MRI. Because the whole scheme had to be nice and elaborate. on tax-paying dollars. When Storm Gonsalves got in a bike accident somewhere across by Church of the Nazarene in 2008, I think the van was coming out into the road, and Storm came up on the side of the van and got thrown off the bike. Right? Mm-hmm. What did Ralph Everett Gonsalves do for Storm Gonsalves? I know his second name, so I can't call second name. Did Ralph send Storm down to Milton Cato Memorial? Did he? Did he have Storm on a hospital bed for days without proper treatment? Did he? Storm was flown out to Barbados. Storm was flown out to Barbados. When Eloise Gonsalves, who referred to Vincentians as pathetic, and you know what? When you hear these stories, you have to agree with her sometimes, that we do behave as though we're pathetic. Eloise up in the Parliament yard of St. Vincent and Grenadines. Our Parliament here, Isola. Our Parliament, not Dominican Parliament, the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Eloise stood up in the yard there and watched Vincentians in the face during an interview and say, they asked, what do you think about the crowd? Well, I think they're pathetic. And we didn't chase Eloise out of St. Vincent and Grenadines. No, Eloise stayed here. So we have to be pathetic in truth. When Eloise started having her little back complaints, I don't know if she had breasts like mine, because if you have breasts like mine, you just have little back issues. So me, if it's, big boobs, why she had back issues. And I also got into a car accident some time ago that has me with a little back injury myself. But anyways, when Eloise, Patricia, started getting her back issues, what did Ralph Everett Gonsalves do? Mind you, Eloise was not in an accident that we know of. She was not on a hospital bed lying, having difficulty breathing, just difficulty living. Ralph flew Eloise to a specialist in the United States, and he had to accompany her, to aid with the healing. So Storm got flown out. Motorbike issues, motorbike accident. He got flown out. Oh, I think what they said, Storm sustained, I think he had fractured, I didn't say broke, fractured a limb. But it was a hand or leg, I can't remember at this point. But he had fractured, I mean, I say broke it. He had fractured, according to the newspaper report. Storm had fractured a limb. Fractured a limb. Storm wasn't underneath the body vehicle. Wrap up. He had fractured a limb. Storm was flown out. Eloise was flown out. Ralph and his fake bus head flown out. But CJ stays at Milton Cato. Ralph knew he was there. Ralph knew that what was needed to give him a chance of life was not in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Because, first of all, he needed an MRI. He needed an MRI. He needed something to see exactly what was happening inside of his body before anybody could say, this is the way forward. He needed that. And that was not available. That is not available in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That's not available. So before they could have even thought about how to fully treat this young man, how to fully help him, he was supposed to be flown out, to be checked out properly. Ralph knew this. We all know this. It's like when the fishermen in the Grenadines get the bends, we have to send them to Grenada. Because although we have a minister here and a ministry of fisheries, we don't think about these things to help our fisher folk. And we as Vincentians, we love to jump on every issue and we love to defend Ralph, and we don't defend with self. I wanted to get the voice note. If any of you had a voice note with when the man was saying how Vincentians love Ralph more than themselves, send it for me right now if you have my number. Send it for me now. Let me play it. Send it for me now. Let me play it. Because when that voice note came out and they said Vincentians love Ralph more than they love themselves, Alia was very offended. Alia was very offended because Alia saying them out of place. But look at it. Look at it. Anything happen to the Gonzales, they get flown out. Ask Camilo where his wife gave birth. Not at Milton Cato. Fly out. But you have to go down Milton Cato for your baby for catch draft. And put up your 90 by louvers. Because not everybody have money to go to private hospital here. He said he knew CJ mom and couldn't do anything to help him. Who did ask? Well, Ralph is a doctor now. Ralph is a doctor now. All Ralph needed to do was get a medical team or a medical doctor, just like how he fly out to the doctor. All he had to do was get together a team to take CJ where CJ could get help. CJ didn't have to die down at Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. Ralph could have sent CJ somewhere to get help. So I laid it squarely at his feet. But again, all you love him more than all you love all yourself. When the guy went off in Kingston there and attacked people, and the man was on the bed in Kingston General Hospital, Memorial, whatever. Fitz's friend, the one who died recently, he should have been flown out too. Because what he got in his head was real. What Ralph got in his head wasn't real. But the faker went to Barbados with doctor for MRI. But a citizen of St. Vincent and Grenadines who got a bus head from a vagrant, a madman, or whoever it is, had to sit on Milton Cato and die. They couldn't have been flown out for MRIs. And that's what I keep saying. I want to see who really want justice for CJ. Because all the demon, all they dealing with. But all they love up the demon. All the demon, all they dealing with. And for this whole week, I given one scripture, Proverbs 29:2. When the wicked reign, when the wicked lead, When the wicked rule, the people moan. And it's not now only mourning. It's not now we mourning as a country. A long time we mourning. But we like to bawl, it seems. We like to bawl. Hey, Petula. It seems like we love to bawl. It seems like as a nation we love to bawl. So, CJ didn't get flown out for help. When the children got burnt down in the southern Grenadines, again, we all knew there was nothing at Milton Keynes to save them. An island that has a volcano does not have a proper burn unit. An island with schools that do food and nutrition, home economics, does not have a proper burn unit. They do chemistry, all of these things, and we do not have a proper burn unit. So in case, heavens forbid, something were to go haywire in any of our labs at schools, where does that leave our children? We will be mourning. Because when they try to hold Ralph accountable, the Ralphites come out and they come to defend. They come to defend because they do defend him quicker than they would defend their loved ones. Milton Keynes Hospital is a hot mess. Some of the staff down there are no good, and I've experienced them. So I know some of the staff down there is them to dash way. But I also know that the hospital suffers for lack of resources. If you could call it a hospital, because most people just call it a death trap. Andrea, if you're not seeing when I go live, it's because you haven't liked this page. All the lives will be coming through this page. So you'd have to like this page, and then you would be notified when I go live. So you have to first like the page, and then you'd see when I go live. I'm trying to get, certain things off of my personal page. So it will take a while, but we'll get there. Hey, Sophia. Hey, Miranda, tomorrow. Yeah. Who wants justice, eh? Who wants justice? Are we going to allow these police officers to get to it like the ones who had raped the girl who was in their custody? And I think was the same Kittles police station too, I know. Remember, there were some police officers who were convicted of a crime back in the police force now. Yeah. Convicted of a crime, and back in the police force. That's the kind of police force we have out here. That's the kind of police force we have out here. But what do we want? What do we want? Because you see, until all of us hold one head, and love up ourselves, like how Gonzales just love Gonzales will always be emptying their posy on us. Until we start to love ourselves as Vincentians and stop putting Gonzales over us, this is the situation we'll be in. We'll be mourning continuously. So Michael could tell them, This is the scripture reading. When just men increase, the people shall rejoice. So when you have just, decent people leading you, you would have a good nation. You would have a happy nation. I didn't say perfect nation, I didn't say perfect. But things would go right. Because you would have people who have you in their heart. And they'll be wanting good for you. Because guess what? They're just, decent, principled. When the wicked shall bear rule, the people shall mourn. I only want anybody more wicked than Ralph. Y'all want to see anybody more wicked than Ralph? The people shall mourn. We will continue to mourn. We will continue to mourn until we get rid of Ralph Gonsalves and his cabinet, because all of them are wicked. Every last one of them wicked. Which one of them went down to that hospital and said to that mother, let me help you get an air ambulance to take your child for medical attention? Which one of them? Which one of them did that? That verse came to me this week. And when something is impressed on you to share, it was impressed on me to share that verse. And so I've been sharing it non-stop. Proverbs 29:2. Who don't want to hear the business? I know prophetess. I know whatever. But when something is impressed on you to share, you share. Ralph is the devil himself. I'm convinced of that, Sugarcane. I'm very convinced of that. We have to learn to bond and fight for better. We sit down and you hear Ralph Straker come out. Straker say, but the people that may really suffering out here from anything with COVID, they ain't suffering. And Ralph comes and he says, well, but we need a fancy new parliament building, because look at this one. Do you expect me, Ralph Everett Gonsalves, to come to work in such deplorable condition? Look at this place. I deserve better. I can't work here. And so he says to you, well, I'm going to put some money in somebody's pocket, in one of my supporters' pocket, and I'm going to buy some land to make a temporary parliament. Not an official parliament, a temporary one, because somebody have to get some money. And you sat down there and you say, yes, you have to do that. And then after he finishes this temporary parliament, he's going to make a permanent parliament. And all of these amount to millions of dollars. Millions. By the time Ralph finished building a temporary parliament and an actual parliament building, we could have had 2 hospitals, 2 proper hospitals too. But you don't want to go against what Ralph says. You don't dare open your mouth to say, Ralph, that is BS. So anybody who calls him out on it and say, like Dr. Friday, put the money where the pain is. You say, oh, watch you. It's because I don't like Ralph. No, it's not because I don't like Ralph. It's because I love me. I love my child. And I love the people in this country. And in my heart, I know we deserve a better place. Much better. But do you feel as though you deserve it too? Because if you don't feel like you deserve it, I telling you so ain't gonna make a difference. So versus saying, look how he treated Vincentians. He brought back Renee for 2 weeks just to pass the budget for him to get time to go to Dubai to pitch Eloise business. Oh, let's send Ralph Dubai. Ralph gone to Dubai for sell Eloise business and to make deals for Eloise. So he had to hurry to Parliament, hurry to the budget, have business deals for cement for Eloise. And he said so. He said so. And the woman from Invest SVG, Prime Minister, we're hearing you. Prime Minister, your mic is still on. Prime Minister. What was funny about that? What was funny about Ralph using my tax-paying dollars to get benefits for his wife? What was funny about that? And Vincentians did not stand up and ask this man, who you really and truly think you are. We have to hold him accountable. We have to start demanding that this government do better by the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Of course, it's a serious curse here. If anybody ain't convinced that this island here curse, I don't know. You see the amount of things that unleash in this island here? Watch. It's like reading that story of the Israelites in Egypt. What haven't we had? Volcanic eruption, dengue, COVID, of course. Ralph, of course, he's a plague too. Fleas. Could you imagine we've had fleas? Fleas, fleas. And now we had leptospirosis. Leptospirosis now licking St. Vincent. What next? Chigga? Could you imagine we had fleas? That's one really and truly shit. Remember, we had fleas. Fleas. We have fleas. Now we have leptospirosis. One after the next, one after the next. And all these tragic circumstances which people are losing their lives. People, y'all need to wake up. The wicked is ruling this country. And because the wicked is ruling this country, we shall mourn. We shall mourn. We have to get rid of them. We have to get rid of them and clean this place. And that's why I don't understand why some of you would sit down and watch a decent man like Godwin Friday and sit to yourself and to other people, oh, Friday in this enough and Friday in that enough, using words to describe Friday, what you want Friday to be, wasn't suited for Ralph. Me, I want Friday to be nothing like Ralph. Nothing. I don't want Friday to be anything like Ralph. Because this country needs a fresh start. A fresh start. What? All in another lecherous man as Prime Minister? Another liar as Prime Minister? Really? Another abuser? Another manipulator? That's what y'all want? No. When the wicked rule, people mourn. People mourn. We need to start rejoicing in this country here. We need to start rejoicing. And we start by getting rid of this government, holding them accountable for all the things that they have and have not done. When are y'all going to do that? When? Look at how much millions of dollars. We have $95 missing, right? From 2010 to 2015. I see y'all asking for the missing 95. It's more than 95. That 95 million figure took us to 2015. We're now in 2022, which means that we probably have double that by now. We've probably doubled that figure by now. Hey, Michael. Look at 95 times 2. That's probably where we are now in terms of the millions that are missing. And where is the money? Ask Ralph. Ask Ralph. But then Ralph come and tell you, oh, how when his wife was sick, what he had to go take out a loan. I be like, Vincent is not that foolish. Ralph have to take out. Correct, Marilyn. Correct. And those of you who pray hard, those of you who fast without ceasing, fast, pray, speak to people, enlighten them. There's nothing good in Ralph Gonsalves. And as long as Ralph Gonsalves remains as Prime Minister of this country and the ULP remains in charge of this country, we shall mourn. We shall mourn. Because once the wicked is leading, the people will mourn. That's what's going to happen. So I want to see how this whole matter with CJ is going to go. I want to see if Ralph and his police are going to spin stories about this young man. I want to see how they're going to try to destroy his character. I want to see if he's going to try to bribe his parents to shut them out. And those who witnessed the whole event, I want to see. I want CJ to get justice. But it's not going to happen unless people demand it. For once in all their lives, all they must try to see beyond party colors and see what is wrong in this country. For once in all their lives, admit it. Ralph Gonsalves is a blight on this nation. A blight on this nation. But Sugarcane, we know how the usual story goes, eh? We know. But I do believe that if people come together, look at what the truckers are doing in Canada. Mandates are being pushed out the door, left, right, and center in Canada. People are being threatened, oh, if you take fuel to them, you're going to get locked up. What do people do? They're taking fuel to them still. They're feeding them still. Because what? They believe in what they're doing. And yes, there are those who don't. But the fact is, right now, those Canadians they're doing they do. They're doing they do. Trudeau had to run. Trudeau had to run. Ralph should see St. Vincent free to come back St. Vincent if CJ doesn't get, and regardless of whether CJ gets justice, Ralph's supposed to see St. Vincent and send a plane for Eloise and the rest of them and to come meet me in Dubai. Are they over here? That we still over here. He should not be welcomed here. Because when you have a guest, I mean, could you imagine an employee? You have an employee in your house. You have an employee in your house, you know, and your employee is abusing your own children. And you still worshiping this employee. This employee is still your employee after abusing your children. What is wrong with you people? And I say you people because I'm not in that category. I'm not going to pretend to be in this category. No. I'm not going to say we about this one. What is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people that you're going to see this man? No, this man only looks out for himself. Everything Ralph does is about him and his family. Nobody else. Every move, that's why you see the politicians he has around them. That's why you see they just fall over one another, trying to get in his good graces, trying to see how close they could be to his family. And that's how he just get the big pieces of the pie to eat. You have to sit down underneath the papa. When you sit down into papa, he looks out for you. That's why the inside, falling over one another. But we're going to move on for this one here now. I don't think mosquitoes want, not even mosquitoes want Ralph blood. Trust me. Now we have a commissioner of police again, Colin John. He never knew anything, eh? He always talking, but he never knows. He ain't get his, he just try to do a Ralph. He ain't get his report yet, he ain't get this yet, he ain't get that yet. So he ain't about this, he ain't about that. He ain't sure about this, he ain't sure about that. But he had the most to say. He had the most to say. Now Colin on Facebook cussing some preacher, man. Now Colin did this, was it year before? If I had, if my computer been working, I could have bring up something that somebody had sent me, Colin cussing out somebody else. And I was like, how Colin not back now also? For Police Commissioner Colin John Love too much back now. I said it today, it's best that they get Enville Police Commissioner and just tell Colin go home early. Because all I had to bust up Enville all in the game. And the one thing I could say I respect Enville for is that after that first incident when he came on the line and talked about shoot on his command, I saw him after that actually trying to control the crowd. Not to abuse people, but to control the crowd. I saw a video with somebody taking up a bin. There's a bin or a box of garbage or something and throwing it straight at him. And he just caught it and threw it on the ground. You think anybody could do that with that idiot they call Colin? Because people were upset. And Enville understood that. When Mufford got his head injured by the female police officer when she busted my head for no reason. Not even this female, where is she? I'm sure she's in the force and no discipline. Mufford was not a threat to this woman. She was standing up with her superior officer at the time and others, and she had a shield in front of her. She was standing here, she's behind the shield, officers here, and here, and Mufford over here. She over here, Mufford over there, Enville here. And she reaches out from behind her shield, crooks, pan the man head, bust the man head. And the first person to respond to him was Enville. I ain't saying Enville perfect. And the day he come and he protest line or anywhere else and he do shoppiness, I would be in his tail. But he don't get on like Kaba like Colin. But you see, Colin is a perfect lick boots for Ralph. Ralph could tell Colin do anything and Colin would do it. And Ralph do himself have to tell Colin to do, Colin go do. So you have your police commissioner on Facebook cussing people. And then when he done now, you're supposed to respect he as police commissioner. Who? Wait. Psh. Respect who as police commissioner? Colin John. Colin John ain't going to get 1 ounce of respect out of Adriana King. None. Because when you have a carrying on like that, you can't be a police commissioner. You cannot be a police commissioner. A lick boots and orangutan? No. You're in the wrong profession, Colin John. Wrong. You need to go and, get a basket and walk around and start shout and sell something. You might be good at that. You could come help me sell some cinnamon roll. And then again, I don't really think I want you mixing up with my cinnamon buns at all. Keep with it. Keep with it. Not interested. I changed my mind. Change my mind. All of this, people, all of this is to show the state of our nation. You all need to wake up. Wake up. Then the other thing is, you have Ralph coming out. We're going to talk about North Leeward, I know. We talk about North Leeward, but I'm waiting for Bigger Biggs to come in. When Bigger Biggs finishes his work, he's going to join me on here tonight, and we're going to talk a bit about North Leeward. But before we get there, here comes Ralph. Oh, people must be careful about these jobs in the UK, right? Because it could lead to human trafficking. Now, this after he trying to bond nurses. Because as we've been saying to y'all for weeks, the nurses have been packing up and leaving. And I saw somebody come on Facebook. Well, I shouldn't say one person. I've seen a number of people on Facebook going on about, vaccines mandatory for them in the UK too. And I kept saying, no, vaccines were not mandatory for nurses in the UK. They were planning to make it mandatory. Now we're hearing that they're planning not to make it mandatory. But the fact is, at the time, it wasn't. So when they were here and they started forcing nurses to take vaccines, our nurses started to migrate. Mind you, we have nurses who migrate yearly for better pay in the UK. Them does make enough dollars. But around the vaccine time now, when they started making it mandatory, many other nurses left. Plenty of them pack up and go. It's like every week they've been leaving. And not just that, even some of the vaccinated ones were leaving because obviously no. They figured, well, all right, I'm already vaccinated. Let me go make some money. So nurses were leaving. So to stop the nurses from leaving, here's Ralph. He's going to put them on bond. And as Kenza said, and let me repeat it, if you go and bond yourself as a nurse to this government, then you might as well bond it. Well, he didn't say this part. I'm saying this part. You might as well bond yourself in Drew because like it should be. If you're a nurse and you're going to bond yourself to this Ralph Gonsalves administration that has not given us a pay increase in must be over 15 years, then go ahead and bond yourself because you deserve it. Bond yourself because you deserve to have a government that treats you like shh. So bond yourself. But if you're a nurse and you have any sort of sense, you would know that you would get far better pay elsewhere in this world, especially in the UK. So whether you're vaccinated or you're not vaccinated and you're planning to be vaccinated, go to better opportunities. Don't stay here. Do not stay here. Don't bond yourself to this man. So obviously, the bonding thing in take off like how he thought it would have take off. So now he come and he's saying, well, Holly, be careful about this going to the UK thing and that because Holly might end up with some kind of sex trafficking something. Ralph Everard Gonsalves, you are the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and Grenadines. The man who has been accused multiple times of rape, sexual abuse, and other such things. Then here comes your son, Camilo. And that whole Yugi affair came up. And so people started realizing, well, I've already don't bear lime. What do you mean by human trafficking, Ralph? What do you mean by that? Because they're dealing with it right here. They're dealing with you. They're dealing with you. So then dealing with you. They're already dealing with human trafficking. Leave the people them alone. Leave them alone. But let me show y'all something which I find very interesting as we deal with the human trafficking. Because you see the thing when we deal with the human trafficking, you know, what he needs to tell Vincentians, he's not telling Vincentians. There's a point when we used to allow people overseas to adopt children from here quite easily. They had to stop it because we, St. Vincent and Grenadines, got blacklisted for human trafficking. That was one of the reasons. Let me show you some documents here. Tonight we're doing a little bit of school. We ain't have school in a very long time. We're having school tonight. Let me see if I could find this. I want to show y'all something, man. I want to show y'all something. Okay. All right. Very fine print. So let me go back over here. I'm so afraid of okay, yeah, it's still kind of fine. Okay, let me try this view. Okay, this is a little better. All right, this view is better. So we'll use this view. Now, before they say we make up documents again, you know, they love to say us make up these documents, you know. This is United States U.S. Department of State 2021 Trafficking in Persons Reports in Vincent and Grenadines. Okay. We are tier 2. And we're this because the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines does not fully meet the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking, but apparently is making significant effort to do so. Now, we know how that goes. You send a report, and the report goes through. But then they have to look at certain figures from your country, and they're not adding up. So we are at tier 2, and we have been at tier 2 for years now. Years we did it. All right. Now here are the efforts that they say that we're making now. Increased training for police. The addition of an NGO. You know which NGO this is? An NGO as a member of the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Unit. Apparently we have such a unit. The updating and funding of an anti-trafficking national action plan. You hear the nonsense? We have a national anti-trafficking action plan. Anyone of you could tell me ever see this plan? And expanded public awareness campaign. Any single one of you on this live here could tell me that we in St. Vincent and Grenadines have a public awareness campaign in relation to human trafficking? But these are things that they send it to the US to see that we're doing. These are things that they're sending to the US to say that we're doing. So that is why they say that we're making significant efforts, because apparently we have these things going on in this country here. But sadly, Vincentians don't know about them. I don't. All right. Okay. There's something here. All right. So prioritize recommendation. It says increase investigations of suspected sex and labor trafficking cases, particularly among children. Vigorously prosecute and convict traffickers and sentence convicted traffickers to significant prison terms. We are yet to convict anybody of human trafficking in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Amend the trafficking law to remove sentencing provision allowing fines in lieu of imprisonment or sex trafficking offences. Increase government funding and resources across all relevant agencies to combat trafficking. Screen vulnerable populations, including Cuban medical workers, for trafficking indicators and refer trafficking victims to care. Because apparently the US government was suspecting or was of the opinion that some of the Cuban workers who came here were victims of trafficking, of human trafficking. You see, Ralph wanted to paint this idea that human trafficking is just a matter of, locking up somebody in a room, taking away their passport, feeding them once a day, and not allowing them to have contact with friends and family. And you're gonna be there all whatever, dirty and whatever. Much like you see some of the Indians in Dubai. Yeah. So they were looking at the Cuban workers who've been coming here over the years because there was some irregularities. Yes, that's the word. In terms of papers and the whole procedure. So the US government was examining that whole idea of Cuban medical workers coming to St. Vincent and Grenadines as possible human trafficking. But Ralph ain't gonna tell you all that. He ain't gonna tell you that the United Nations is watching St. Vincent and the Grenadines in relation to human trafficking. Prosecution. The government maintained law enforcement efforts, apparently. The Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act of 2011 criminalized sex trafficking and labor trafficking and prescribed punishments of up to 15 years imprisonment or a fine of 250,000 EC dollars. These penalties were sufficiently stringent, however, by allowing for a fine in lieu of imprisonment, the penalties for sex trafficking offenses were not commensurate with those for other serious crimes such as rape. Yeah, because you notice these fines in relation to rape, right? Where you get in relation to rape ain't nothing like this. All right. What else I want to read from this document here? That's about it. But you can go and look at it. It's all here. All here. What's the last note there? Trafficking profile. So it says, as reported over the past 5 years, human traffickers exploit domestic and foreign victims in St. Vincent and Grenadines, and traffickers exploit victims from St. Vincent and Grenadines abroad. Foreign women in commercial sex in the country may have been exploited in sex trafficking, and foreign workers from South America, the Caribbean, and Asia may have been exploited in forced labor, both in country and while in transit. Remember the issue with the Chinese man who was on the streets the other day? What he said? His family took over his passport. He was working to repair that. Cuban nationals working in St. Vincent and Grenadines may have been forced to work by the Cuban government. Foreign workers employed by small foreign-owned companies may be vulnerable to labor trafficking. Men and women and children have been victims of forced labor, primarily in agriculture. Government officials and civil society suspect drug traffickers exploit workers in forced labor in the production of marijuana. Outside experts continued to indicate adults may have exploited their children in sex trafficking to generate income, while others purchase commercial sex from children. That's what they have to say about St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So when Ralph could come and tell you Be careful about going to England. I mean, yes, in any situation, be careful. You don't travel and behave like an idiot. Like if everything is fine and dandy and rosy and everything, crisp. Exercise some caution. But Ralph should also talk about the fact that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is on the watch list for human trafficking. Let him tell you about that too. He shouldn't hide anything. So that's one there. The other document I want to share, not this one, because I started off a little bit late. Okay, so the 2-tier countries on the watch list, those are the countries that do not comply with the minimum standards to combat human trafficking. And like I said, St. Vincent and Grenadines, yeah, we're one of those. Not even the minimum we're complying with OTA. So let Ralph not be studying the UK too much in relation to that. Now, if St. Vincent and Grenadines, right, if the exploitation of Vincentians in the UK were such a big problem, here's what might have happened. Recently, and y'all might not know this, some of you would know it if you were following my post. You remember me talking about Kissel, Kesron Walters, and some other guy going and barefacedly lying to the United Nations about things that are happening in this country. Now, at that United Nations review, it was a human rights review. We're always coming up short at these reviews, We're always coming up short. And that's why they would go there and they would lie. At that UN review, we received recommendations from different countries. One of the countries we received recommendations from, guess who? United Kingdom. And this was just last year, around November, I think it was. Now, the point I'm making is this. If Vincentians were a big part of the human trafficking issue in the UK, and note I'm saying if they were a big part of the issue in the UK, because I'm establishing the fact here that I do believe that the UK might also have issues with human trafficking. As part of the recommendations, that would have been highlighted. Here's what the UK rep highlighted for us. Let me show you. Not that one. I'm looking for the link with the crown on it. Where are you, link with crown? Oh, there you are. Everything always looks and sounds good on paper for St. Vincent. Let me go to the top. It says 39th Universal Periodic Review of Human Rights, the UK Statement on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The UK delivered the statement on St. Vincent and the Grenadines at the 39th session of Universal Periodic Review, UPR, sharing recommendations to improve their human rights record. And this was published on November 4th, 2021. It says, and this is what, well, okay, I'll just read it. It says, we recommend that St. Vincent and the Grenadines amend the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act of 2011 to ensure there are appropriate penalties for all modern slavery-related crimes. Let's read again. We recommend, this is last year, November. So when Ralph peeping in the UK's bowl in relation to human trafficking, please to ask Ralph to also peep in the bowl of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Because first and foremost, he's supposed to be running this little country down here. He is supposed to be running this little country down here. So, the UK had their issue, and I'm sure they're putting things in place to deal with their issue. Tell Ralph deal with the human trafficking that is happening right here in St. Vincent and Grenadines that we're always getting right up for. So here's what it says. Amend the Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act of 2011 to ensure there are proportionate penalties for all modern slavery-related crimes. So when governments force people to come here to work, all that is modern slavery. It continues. Ensure that all perpetrators of abuse towards women and girls, all, including Ralph, are held to account and implement capacity building training for police officers. So train the police on them. So that when a woman comes to the station and says, oh, my boyfriend beat me up, they won't open the big dirty mouth and say, what you do? Go home and make up with the man. I love her, I love too strong. These are things that police officers say to this very day. To this very day. So yes, implement capacity building training for police officers and other law enforcement officials in gender-based violence and sexual abuse reporting. And then amend the Education Act to explicitly allow for retention and reintegration of school-age mothers and pregnant girls into the formal education system. Because mind you, even the Sister Pact started this years ago. That is allowing mothers to return to school. Our Education Act does not speak to this. A shocker, isn't it? 2022, sorry. And Ralph out here peeping in other people trafficking, human trafficking bowl. But can't clean up our human trafficking mess in this country. Can't clean up our rape mess in this country. Can't clean up our theft mess and our abuse of women mess and our domestic violence mess and every other mess that we have here. Can't clean that up when you're ready for talk about the UK. If Vincentians being trafficked in the UK were a serious issue, it would have been in these recommendations. It would have been in these recommendations. And this is not to say that there aren't people who suffer because of human trafficking in the UK. That's not to say that. That is simply to say that Ralph is trying to create a situation that doesn't exist because the bonding of the nurses didn't work. So now you're trying to put fear into them so that they won't leave the country. That's it. So these are the recommendations from the United Kingdom to St. Vincent and Grenadines during the review last year, November. Yes, as I was saying, even though that whole thing about taking back mothers to school started by Sister Pat, it is not official. It is not in the Education Act. And that's why you see many schools still don't take back girls who are pregnant or who have had a child. It's not in the Education Act. But we've had an education revolution, haven't we? Y'all sit down there up to this day, bragging about the education revolution. These things are still there. You know what? Let me see if I can find some of the other recommendations that were given to St. Vincent and Grenadines. Oh, but before I do that, let me see. Okay, this is Okay, let me share the screen with you. Hold on. Share screen. Tab. I think it's this one. Good. Let's see what that looks like. All right. So this is a document here now called Prevention. Let me see what's at the top. Okay, so this is St. Vincent and Grenadines Prevention of Trafficking in Persons Act 2011, and it is online somewhere. I got that at what? oig.cipal.org. It's this. If you do a search for this document, you're going to find it online. You can go right ahead and read it. There's something I read here this afternoon that caught my attention. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. 40. Okay, here it is. It says here, that is 41, section 41. It says, the minister shall within 3 months after the end of each year cause a copy of an annual report on trafficking in St. Vincent and the Grenadines to be laid in the House of Assembly. The report referred to, the same report, shall include the number of victims identified, the number of investigations initiated, the number of persons arrested, the number of prosecutions commenced and the outcome, any other pertinent matter which the minister considers necessary. I want to know how many of us have heard about such a document. I would like to know. So yeah, go online. Here it is. Let me hit download one time because I love to delete things once I start to read from them. They like to delete them, but they can't delete from this organization though. They could only delete it from their website. So look that up online. See what St. Vincent says about trafficking of people. And again, do not confuse what I'm saying here, or do not take what I'm saying here out of context. I am not saying that the United Kingdom does not have any kind of human trafficking issue. I do believe all countries would have some sort of issue. My thing is this. Let me deal with the issues here in this country here first. And let's look at the reasons why people are leaving. Could it be that they need to find a means to support their family? So if Ralph is concerned, right, that when Vincentians leave, they're going to become victims of human trafficking because they're desperately trying to find a way to survive. Why is he firing Vincentians? Why is he making it difficult for Vincentians to survive in this country? If you as a prime minister see that your citizens are jumping out and just taking the first boat, playing whatever the case, and leaving, and you're not trying to create a situation that is going to help them, then it goes back to Proverbs 29:2. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. the people mourn. So when you sit down and you watch and you say, oh, if you go off, you're going to become a victim of human trafficking. What you're offering them to stay here? If you're so concerned about them, what you're offering for them to stay here? What are you offering? Stop trying to scare people into finding a good life for themselves. Stop doing it. And I hope people are not stupid enough to listen to you, because it's a bunch of hogwash. I hope people are not stupid enough to listen to you. Yes, when you go to a new country, you exercise caution. You exercise rushing and then start behaving as though you've been lived there forever and you and everybody's friend. And if you're offered a job, you explore that job and you ask questions of persons who are already in the country and find out, okay, do you know this organization? Is this a safe organization to work with? Have you ever heard of these people? Tell me. Of course, he's left them with no choice but to leave. And he would not admit that he has a failing economy, and he loves it that way. He wants them to stay here so he could put them on poor relief. And then every now and then, he get them $500, and they would jump up, yeah. We love you, we love you, we love you. And he would say, yes, I love you too. And then when something happened to them or happened to somebody next to them, they had to go down to Milton Kate Hospital to perish, while he and his family fly out for treatment for even a fractured hand and some back pain and a bruise on the scalp. Intentions, y'all need to wake up. Those of you who still walking around this country and think that this man has some kind of love for y'all, you need to wake up. Wake up. You need to wake up. And I don't know when y'all going to do that. I don't know. I want to find something, There's another document I wanted to share here tonight. Let me see if I find it now. But let me show you something. For those of you who are interested in going through the documents that were presented to the UN in terms of our human rights, conditions, violations, whatever the case is, let me show you where to go. This is where you go. Right here. So you go to ohchr.org/en, well, the whole thing there. That's where you go. Or you just type in this Universal Periodic Review St. Vincent and Grenadines, and you should get to this page, and it shows you what our country submitted. It shows you what the review team said, what the other country suggested. Everything is there. The review outcome, questions that they submitted, all of that is here. All the documents are there for you to read and be informed. Read and be informed. So we're going to close that. I'm trying to see if I can get bigger now. I am not sure. What is the hold up? Just give me a few. Let me see where he is. Hold on, Okay, so Bigger has been trying to get in, but he's been having some issues. No. I had the thing muted. I was talking to Bigger Bigs on the phone. So I had the thing muted for a while. But yeah, I want to talk about North Leeward a bit bigger. And there's something very interesting that I saw today. Now, once he pops in here, let me close these windows because all these are things that had to do with the human trafficking, and I've already shown you where to go with that. So we could deal with that another time. He still ain't reaching yet, so let me give him a while and see. Let me give him a while and see. No, this Mr. Reno, what his surname? Whatever his surname is, I'm not christening the man, so I am really and truly not concerned about trying to pronounce his surname. But anyways, here is this Lucian, right? Who is looking to do a quarry down in Sylvester is still not getting any sound down in North Leeward. Okay? Now, this man, let me show you the document here. I tell you tonight, we're gonna be bringing out some documents here tonight. We're gonna be bringing out some documents tonight. Let me share this one here with you. Okay. So this is a matter with the same Reno person, and hold on. Right, the physical planning and development people in Trinidad, in St. Lucia. He was taken to court. This is a document that you could find it on the Eastern Caribbean courts. So there it is. He was taken to court because, according to them, he was given permission to do a certain development on a property, and without permission from them, he went and changed what he was going to do on the property. So just like, they gave him permission to bake a cake, and he decided he wasn't just going to bake a cake, he was going to start selling ice cream, and he was going to start making rock buns, and whatever the case is. So they took him to court. Now, that's one thing. Yeah, that's one thing. And it goes to show the kind of person that he is. Good? Now, here it is. He had permission to do one sort of development, and he went behind planning back and did his own thing. He was taken to court by planning in St. Lucia. The corrupt, nasty government that we have here in St. Vincent and Grenadines. You know that right now they're behaving as though this man is the best thing to happen to St. Vincent and Grenadines since there was a sun in the sky. I want any one of you to tell me that if he does anything outside of his contract, that Ralph Gonsalves and Julian, who allegedly told the people at Planning here that anything related to Reno is above their pay grade, I want to hear you tell me that any one of them is going to allow this man, or should I say, will not allow this man to do as he pleases. Now, Bigger say he's still not getting through. I don't know why. I'm going to try to see if I can do something else to get him on. I might just have to call him directly or something and get that done. But yeah, so let me see. Hold on. Hey, I'm not sure why it's not allowing you to get in, but in the next 5 minutes or so, I'll try and call you direct, and I'll probably have to just, use your voice. I don't know why he's not getting in though. I don't know why. Okay, let me try. Let me call him back. Okay? Just give me a second. Let me call him. Oh Lord, that's not working out. He's gonna try again, but saying. So yeah, as I was saying, so here's this man going against planning in St. Lucia and being taken to court. It reached High Court. Now, I'm convinced, based on the way Ralph Gonsalves and the others behave, that if he were to come to St. Vincent and try anything like that, ain't nobody here going to stop him. They will not stop him. Now, that's not the only thing that we need to be concerned about. We also have to be concerned about him in terms of safety and all of that. Because in St. Lucia, at one of his quarries, you had the death of 4 people. 4. And here's an article on that. And because of those deaths, the St. Lucian government did not renew his license or his we call it permission, whatever word you want to use explosives at his quarry. So he cannot use explosives in St. Lucia. A container filled with explosives. They're saying explosive, and one report says explosive and fertilizers, one's explosive or not, whatever the case is. But a container with things in there that were highly flammable blew up, killed 4 people. And there you could see some of the wreckage. Now, the question we have to ask is this: What sort of contract does this man have with St. Vincent and Grenadines? What is in there to protect workers at this quarry? Because we know there's nothing in there to protect the environment. We're going to end up losing about 300 acres of farmlands, just like that. Even though Sabota made big brag that there was going to be big things in agriculture this year. Big things in agriculture where losing 300 acres of farmland, that's a big thing that's happening in agriculture. No environmental assessment study was done in North Leeward in relation to this project. The only thing that was done was in 2008 and had to do with the replanting of mangroves, etc., to save and to better the natural resources of the area. Now, here comes this man. What is in there to protect the people in the community? Because when they start suffering from all sorts of respiratory illnesses, relation to dust inhalation and all of these things, what's in there to protect them? Knowing this government, there is nothing in his contract to protect people in North Leeward. Nothing. Or we would have seen the contract already. They would have had big fanfare. And that's the other thing. Look how the ULP just sneaked the man into North Leeward like a thief in the night. When the wicked rule, the people mourn. Like a thief in the night, they sneak that man into North Leeward. Nobody didn't know the man coming. But here the funny thing about it, is that they warned us. Ralph Gonsalves said last elections, right? That anything put in the ULP manifesto, he goes through it with a fine teeth comb. Nothing is printed in the ULP manifesto without him knowing. I want to see if I could find that tape for you. Nothing happens in the ULP manifesto without Ralph knowing. Ralph says so. He says before the manifesto goes out, he goes through it. I think Sharma had posted it in the movement. I want to see if I find it. He goes through it in a fine teeth comb and ensures that whatever is there is what he wants to be there. So let me see if I find something for you that's in the ULP's manifesto that sadly slipped us. And we were looking, Kenton and I, we were actively looking for the ULP's manifesto during elections and we couldn't find it. Every time I went to the link, there was some sort of error on that link for the whole elections. And the amazing thing is that there are people who went out and voted for the ULP, but did not know why they voted for the ULP. And the same people who voted for the ULP are some of the same people who would sit down and tell you, oh, the NDP na have no plans. All them have to do is sell passport. Meanwhile, the government of St. Vincent and Grenadines is out there selling entire islands. But you had an issue with the NDP's citizenship by investment program. You thought that was too much. Because guess what? This wicked man you have as Prime Minister convinced you that you're not worth anything. Any sort of development to happen in this country here should not include your development. It shouldn't. So, here you are with Renault in North Leeward. And people are not out here standing up for it, or against it, I should say. Why aren't we doing that? That project should not come off in North Leeward. It should not. And at first I saw it as something that is for, North Leeward, as in it would affect North Leeward and just North Leeward. No, Denny, we're not forgetting that. I saw it as a North Leeward issue. But really and truly, when anything affects our waterways, it's a Vincentian issue. That's what it becomes. A Vincentian issue. Not a North Leeward issue, not a North Windward issue, but it becomes a Vincentian issue. And we have to be so very careful. So very careful. We have to stand up to this. We have to stand up to this. Now, you go on there and you're saying, oh, you're going to have consultations. And I keep telling people, stop using the word consultations, because you cannot have a consultation after you've started work. A consultation means that you're going to meet the people and you're going to discuss with them what is possibly going to happen. And so when you do that now, they're able to raise their concerns, you listen to them, and you have open dialogue. What happened there in North Leeward was not a consultation. That was the ULP saying to people, shut up. Shut up. We're in here. And I keep saying, people, don't tell me anything about Carlos allowing Ralph to use him, or about allowing Ralph they're being used. No, they're not being used. They're not being used. They're very happy doing what they're doing. They're very happy helping Ralph to abuse Vincentians and to rule this country here as though they're some lords. Because guess what? The closest to Papa Ralph on any project is the one who gets the biggest slice. That's how it works. That's how it works. Now, here's what we missed. It says, building out in conjunction with a private sector entity, a quarry in North Leeward. This is vital for private and public construction, including roads. This is in the last ULP's manifesto. Look at there. But you didn't hear Carlos talking about this on the campaign train. You didn't hear Ralph talking about this on the campaign train. Building out, meaning none for you. None for you. Building out in conjunction with a private sector entity. So you see how long Ralph and them knew that they were going to do this quarry down in North Leeward. This is vital for private and public construction, including roads. That is why you see all that money share away in North Leeward. That is why you see people talking about all kind of nastiness that took place in North Leeward. Because this quarry at elections time was already a done deal. The quarry was already a done deal. That is why Mr. Renault could have started moving in his stuff. That's why. Because he might have got permission to begin the project in writing the other day, which I doubt. But look at there. Look at there. Big and bold. I'm going to call Bigger Bigs, and let's try to see if we can get this thing done by call, because I really want him to talk about this thing. So let's see what happens. You hearing the phone ring, right? So look at there. ULP's manifesto already given permission to Renault to have the quarry. Hey, Bigger.
Hey, Jenna, good night.
Okay, I think everybody could hear you now. Let me just double check. If you all are hearing bigger and you're hearing him loud and clear, just let me know, please. So we could do it this way.
Okay, no problem, Adriana.
I like how you said that. Okay, so they said they're hearing you. Yes,
Wonderful,
they're hearing you loud and clear. Good. This is how we like things.
wonderful.
Because you see, when one me kind of put the phone somewhere close to the thing now. When one form fails us bigger, we get it done the other way, so.
Exactly. We have to be determined, and determination you'll find something to success.
All right. So the reason why I wanted to have Bigger on here tonight, obviously, he is the quarryman of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
that, that will give me the quarry, man.
He is the quarryman of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We know that Bigger had his business out in Roboca. So Bigger, I wanted to tell us about what you were doing in Roboca.
Let me just put some put everything in its right perspective. I What I was doing at Rabaka, it wasn't really quarrying. It was sand mining.
So sand
It was
mining.
sand mining. Yeah, sand mining, right? And and there's where the blunder was made when they even when they had shut us down or shut our operation down because we wasn't doing sand mining. That is where they had so much of difficulty because when they were thinking that they have to get a quarry license
Mm-hmm.
to resume operation. That is when they found out no really and truly what the guy was doing there doesn't really categorize as quarrying.
Ah, okay.
So then yes. But so that is one of the things I said I must get out there to the
Mm-hmm.
public.
Okay.
Let the public know that I wasn't doing quarrying, I was doing sand mining.
Okay.
Mining up sand and gravel really. And training and some caution because what we were mining had oversight material. We had to
Mm-hmm.
do some cautions. We had a crusher. That crusher was also involved. The
Okay.
same kind of crushing, something similar to what it is. When I have a quarry and that I was doing sand mining, a
Mm-hmm.
crusher, actual equipment that you call a crusher, stone crusher was involved.
Okay. So let me ask you
Yes.
this.
Mm-hmm.
Since you're saying that you weren't doing quarrying, you were doing sand
No.
mining. In
Yes,
terms
sand
of
mining.
construction, in terms of road construction, house construction, is there a difference in the material that is going to be produced?
Yes, 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 yes. You know what? The material that is found at Rabaka is deposited from recent, well, I should say, historic volcanic eruption.
Mm-hmm.
That is what is planned throughout the whole of almost the whole northern part of the country, which is not Leeward and not Leeward. So a lot of material from eruption, maybe from 1912 and all them places, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Halfway back, because we know the vaccine has been around for since it was created, I believe that vaccine was around there,
Right.
right? So a lot of the material Latin mine is real old volcanic deposit that was thrown out from the volcano. But what happened? And those of us who would have, I experienced in 79, and the younger one like you who know would have been around, you know what I mean? Because I was a lad at that lad in 79,
Mm-hmm.
um, you found out now that material that came out of the volcano, what we get down here is the dust, but the
Okay.
coastal material far closer to the volcano. You know what I mean? So then they're going to get a mixture of all different sizes of aggregate
Mm-hmm.
deposits closer to the volcano. And that's one of the reasons why I had to get a crusher involved because there was some real oversized material that could not have been used directly into the construction.
Like those
Um,
big stones that we saw in like Owe and Fancy that came down.
yes, yes, those, yes, those are even small and yes, and smaller right down to dust. You will find closer to the volcano. So what happened there now is that that material it's a more porous, but hear this, even though it's porous, it makes a very good lightweight material, especially for casting flows and so.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for lightweight concrete, not and you want to say not weak, light.
Mm-hmm.
It will be a strong concrete, but it will be of a lighter texture. Let me say you're doing what you call a hanging floor, like
Mm-hmm.
an overhead floor. That rubber material is ideal to make it
Okay.
a lighter concrete, but it doesn't really reduce the strength. The longer they use the steel or rebars inside it to put in your ample steel and rebars, that concrete is as good as any other concrete. But for road construction and so forth, you like these highway and so you would not be appropriate for using on the highway and so.
Okay. Is there any material that would come out from, that whole riverbed there from Surfer right down that could be
Mm-hmm.
used in that way?
If you go and do selecting, you could do what they call selecting the stone.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's some stone that come in that riverbed that are very, very hard like granite.
Okay.
But you have to select them. You have to do some selection. Because what I used to do, I never used to work with selecting stone. I take up and then you pass it to your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And what can pass to the system now, the other side now, that is what they crush, and you get a very good aggregator. But as I said, you could go and do selecting, you could do selecting harvesting of stone and crush, you could get very good results.
Okay, because I'm asking this question because
Yes,
of
the
the fact
question is
that,
the system because we need to educate our listeners
yeah, and the
and
fact that Reno
viewers.
is down there in Leeward end, and Ralph is saying, "Oh, we need it for construction,"
Mm-hmm.
but yet 99% of what Reno is doing is going to be exported. We're only keeping a
Mm-hmm.
1% here. So I'm asking the
Mm-hmm.
question because in my mind, if we're
Uh-huh.
only keeping a 1%, why
Mm-hmm.
is it a company like yours that was out at Rabaka couldn't provide the 1%? That's what I was trying to establish there with that question.
Well, as you know, incidentally, Adriana, the 11th of February, which is what, when it's the 9th,
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow is 10th, 11th, will make exactly 11 years since Gonzalez administration has shut down our
Bigger,
operation, destroyed completely. Eh? You could
bigger.
imagine, just imagine where bigger chicken could have been 11 years, for those 11 years. Eh? We could have been in a position where we could have been to take on the job to open a quarry similar to what we are getting. That was always our intention. Because let me say this, Adriana, and I know that this program that we done and you yourself stand for truth and enlightening our public. To
We
be honest
try.
with you, getting that material that we need for road construction and let me say, and I believe the material is more for really that port, that port. Let me say, port. That port is going to take building of that port. The majority of the work going on the concrete work for the port.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it's some $400 million worth of concrete needed for that port, eh?
Wow.
And yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. It's about 400 million, and I said 400 million, and it's a fact. Needed in concrete, needed for that port. To get rubber, to get the aggregator rubber to do it. Even though we to get the rubber to do it and get the rubber to itself, it will not be hard enough. It will be hard because it's you're gonna build something in seawater. So you need to get one of your best aggregated sites. So really and truly, we need to get aggregate from material from a real stone quarry.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. So should that should be So should we get, for we to get that, not that can aggregate, it will have, I would not say have to be from a quarry in Leeward, because we have a lot of hard granite around Finland. They could be from anywhere. From anywhere you could find a good quarry. So, to answer your question, Dre, if we had been given a chance, we would have been in a position to handle a quarry like that, but it would not have been using material from Rabaka. Rabaka does not have that quality of material. You know what I mean? Yes, and that is what I will see, and I will say to you, and you could question me along that line now to figure out what you really want to come up, because that's what we have to do, is to let the public know the truth behind it. But to say if it has to come from a quarry there, I don't know. I don't know if that is the best way they could sign it. And at 1%, and some people are having a hang up again to Adriana about when you guys said about 1% of the aggregate would stay in St. Vincent. Could well be. Maybe we don't know the magnitude that the operation is going to set up. Let me say that he's going to set up in, so let me say he's going to set up in and his rate of extraction. His rate of extraction and his rate of production. I don't know the capacity of the crushing plant that he's going to set up. If he's going to set up one crushing plant, two crushing plants, or even three crushing plants. Maybe it's not big enough for him to set up three crushing plants, and maybe he could produce, let me call a foot figure, 500, 700, 800 tons of material a day. Means so radiant truly cannot use that amount of material.
Okay, so
800 tons of material.
Let me say this. Let me ask this bigger. Now, you're basically saying that based on what he is planning to produce, more than likely we cannot be the consumer, the sole consumer of whatever it is that he's produced because of how much he might produce. Now, my question then would be, locally. So my question or my comment then would be, so why do we need such a massive project? Because if 99% goes out and 100% of the profits go out, he is not paying taxes for 30 years. Why couldn't the government then give again somebody like Bigger Bigs a contract to find a small spot somewhere where you could actually do a quarry and supply what we need for our market? Why do we have to have such a big project when 99% goes out and 100% of profit leaves and no money comes into the country?
And there is where the Robert Road now, Adrian. I like that question. I like the way you phrase that question. Now, I still waiting to hear, and I trust me, I really want to listen to Julian tomorrow, because I tried to listen to him last night, and he was big, but he was saying something like the government will be getting $2 for every ton of material that is produced by Reno. The government will get $2 a ton.
But we don't have Julian and them just lie plenty bigger.
No, but $2
we ain't see this in writing anyway.
But $2 a ton for me is very low, because let me say he produced 100,000 tons of material. That's at $2 a ton. That is too much. $200,000. $100 a ton. 100,000, $200,000. And the rent and the lease amount, I think I don't want to quote him, but I think it's either 12,000 either a month or 12,000 a year. But let me say, let me even say 12,000 a month rent for 58, almost 60 acres of land that has quality, top quality.
Well, Becca, I'm glad you caught that figure there, though. Because another document says 300 acres. But I saw something quoting 58.8.
Yes, but I heard you that mention 58.8 acres last night. So for me, Adriana, if the quarry can go somewhere that is not going to affect the life of people, people's ability to breathe and like have good fresh air and taking away the livelihood. And so we need a cushion plan in Finland. Like that has to be under magnitude, but something that can supply. But
Mm-hmm.
does it really have to be owned by outsider?
But that's the other thing.
Quarrying is not a rocket science. Um, long as you have somebody with the resources. We look.
But
When
let
they
me
want to
let
in
me
the
just ask
airport,
you a question here, bigger, before you go on. Stick a pin right there.
mm,
You
uh,
said we could have something not of that magnitude and that could affect
mm,
people. I want you to go back on that day. How do you see
mm.
this quarry possibly affecting the people of North Leeward?
If you look at it in a negative light, as we already saw what is happening already, people are going to lose the farmers are going to lose their livelihood. The farming is what they know,
Mm-hmm.
and so we already saw what is happening already, where a man has grass is beginning to lose cocoa already,
Mm-hmm.
and all those other farmers who are on that particular piece of land going to lose their livelihood. And we doesn't know what they're going to do because these kind of quarry, and I want people to understand this. There's a big difference between a quarry and a sand mine.
Mm-hmm.
Quarry is notable to throw off a lot of dust when in the crushing stage of it.
And he's also using explosives.
Ordinary mining of the stone, like taking out the stone apart from the explosive that might use and blast the big blast and maybe shake places and so forth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When they do the actual crushing of those granite, trust me, these granite put off a lot of dust. And the reason why some people say it's like a crushing, you could crush almost crush these things and get cement because it's very dusty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How far the dust can reach to affect people, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The environmental study and so forth is what will bring out all of these information.
You mean the missing
So
environmental study, the one that they can't find?
the one that I understand has not been done as yet.
I know, right? And just look at that. They keep talking about this study,
But
and it doesn't
uh-huh.
exist.
Dream.
I'm listening.
Dream?
I'm
Yes.
listening.
I didn't hear you. So go it over again. Go it over again,
No,
please.
I was saying that they keep talking about this study that does not exist. Because
Mm-hmm.
if they actually had a study,
Mm-hmm.
Carlos and Saboto would have
And
gone.
and you have to listen to what Branch said to the
Mhm,
manager, one of the managers for the project, one of the quarry manager.
mhm.
Branch said that something like that environmental study is something that develop over time. It's not a 5 years, it's not a 5 year something. I don't know that maybe that is Branch way of coming up with a environmental, but I know
Absolute
that
nonsense.
you must do environmental study and have a report
Before.
in hand before you even could open and even to
Exactly. Before.
construct a commercial building. You know
And
what I mean?
if
You
you
have to do
had,
for environmental
mhm,
assessment. So
if they
so
had
I don't know.
a study before the volcano blew, they had to do a
Mm-hmm.
study afterwards. Okay, can there's some wind
Yes,
coming in the phone there.
yes, right, yes, but yes, because I traveling to and I come into a traveling, but kind of stuff like that.
Okay.
No, so now, Adriana, we saw where we had used and set up a crushing plant right at Ardell Airport down there, and where all aggregates for that whole entire airport, most of it, I should say, was crushed right on site there.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't take any finer to come and set up and set down all those big concrete. But maybe the Cubans and so was involved there, yes. But we saw where they took down all those big granite rocks from there and was able to crush quality material for
Mm-hmm.
the construction of the other airport.
Mm-hmm.
So to bring in a foreigner, you know what I mean, to set them up. in such a big way and giving them all these kind of um, deals, how much 30 years, 30 to 40 years to lease, and we're not even doing it as a equity.
So let me
We
ask you a
are leasing
question
it.
bigger.
We are leasing it. We are leasing it. You know what I mean?
You said
And
that.
collect,
Go ahead.
we are leasing it, and after we lease it out, we take it for a month or so a year. I had need to go back to my room, what doing an exact said last night. I hope we see tomorrow again, and then $2 per ton for every ton of material that is crushed and leave there. I personally believe so that because I'm got some better deal from this because it's a lot of money. And as I said, if he suggests that he only to use 1% of what he is going to crush, that is a lot of material we're talking about.
Yeah.
Adrian.
Yep.
You're talking millions. Millions, and we have a we're talking about we have this port to construct, we have how much hotel to construct, you know what I mean?
And we only need
Road
1%.
repair, and all of these. And anytime we say concrete, you see if two main things when you say concrete is cement and aggregate. So it was no coincidence when here we had a company named cement and aggregate. These are the two major components when you talk in concrete. Well, yes, you're talking about a port like that, you need a lot. So you need a lot of steel. But you're talking cement and aggregate. That's going to be the two main ingredients. That's for that port here. So it's a lot. Trust me, it's a lot of aggregate you're talking about. But as I said, he could be well be right. Julian tried to dunk him last night when the guy says only 1% going to stay in cement. He is the one know the magnitude of what
Exactly.
he set up. So he will know exactly how much of that cement. He would have done a study already. Julian must understand this kind of businessman, he would have done a study already. He would have already known how much material his output is going to be, and how much cement he might have done get a drift of all that cement is going to construct.
Yeah.
And
Because of the IMF, we don't have permission to do much.
Exactly.
The only project we have permission here for really is the port project in Kingstown.
Exactly.
We do not have permission for anything else.
Exactly. So he know the magnitude of his production, and he knows not only 1% of that aggregate. You know what I mean?
But you said something big. I want to go back on that. You asked the question. You said, why we have to have a foreigner to come and do this? And that's the question that everybody's trying to figure out. Why is it that everything in this country that has to do with money earning has to come from, go to a foreigner? But here we are. But here I want to ask you, this is a real question I want to ask you. Now, other than, you have the situation now where the government is bent on giving every sort of opportunity, every sort of wealth opportunity to foreigners. Everything is going out to foreigners. Last elections, the ULP's campaign was basically, NDP want to sell your passport. How are you looking now?
Well, NDP want to sell piece of paper. I mean, because I say, yes, our passport might be good. You know what I mean? Because everybody might want to go after it and so forth, but that is a piece of paper. But you could always print passport. You can print a piece of land. You can print a quarry. You can print a piece of land in Kanawan. You can print a piece of land in Beckley. But you could, you know what I mean? So for me, tangible and intangible. For me, yes, the passport is tangible, but the lands are intangible. So for me, you could print a million passports and sell. You know what I mean?
And the thing is,
long as you do what you call your due
Due diligence.
And we're going to make sure that they're going to criminal hands.
Mm-hmm. And if the person sets up a business, then you have to you have the opportunity to tax them.
But every time I sell a piece of land, I mean, it's every certain release that it's 30 years that piece of land gone from Vincentian.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
and not just gone from Vincentian, not taken from Vincentians.
Taken from Vincentian. So for me, and this is what, and I like a question him. We have to be careful because look, we take up the fishing rights again, and we basically give it away again for 30 years again because it's 15 years in the first instance, another 15 years and to get another 15 years, so we another 30 years again. Gone to fish again between them for all that.
I'm glad you brought that up bigger because as a businessman, let me ask you this question here now. As the people that say, you're big and you have sense. Now we have rainforest in the south, right? They're here for what? I think it's 15 years. They had tax free.
15 years, first instance.
Okay, first instance. So 15 years with the condition that they could renew. 15 years tax free. So they bring in whatever they need to bring in at customs. They have to pay nothing for that. Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Here we have profits again going outside of St. Vincent and Grenadines. So that is in Calico. Now, Leeward now, we have Reno. And 30 years, they double up for Reno because Reno must say that 15 years for rainforest. No. I'll have to come better for me. So Reno gets 30 years. And again, tax free. He brings in anything he wants. He doesn't pay the country for it. And again, the profits go outside of the country. Okay. Then now, you're going to have geothermal over in back in North Windward again. Because them don't say they're going to do another geothermal project again. Another foreigner coming again. They're going to get some money. I mean, they ain't going to have a situation where the profits going straight out of the country just like that. But it's just to say that there's another project, another big project that it's going to go in the hands of foreigners. But let me go back here a little bit now. Let me get to the meat of the matter here. That making any sense to you, Bigger Bigs? That you're going to tell me you have a country where you're struggling to pay your workers. You're struggling to build a hospital. You're struggling to get proper schools for people. You're struggling to get proper roads. But the two biggest industries that are being created, 100% export leaving the country. Tell me how that makes sense business-wise.
Green, so you brought up 3 major projects in the country now. Geothermal, the rainforest, and the quarry. For me, if I was to make a decision, the only one of those projects that might not have been in the hands of Vincentian is the geothermal. For me, the other 2 projects are what you call low-hanging fruit. All they just need is they have Vincentians living here who understand fishing and who know how to fish, and they have Vincentians here who could do quarrying and can do quarrying. All they just need is their assistance from the state. That's all they need. So those are the true low-hanging fruit that should have gone to Vincentian that will, you see, but this is one of the reasons why this wouldn't happen. We have an administration in power, and I use power deliberately.
Yeah, because it's power.
It's power for them. It's for them. For them, it's power. They don't like to see, because this is one of the reasons why I get shut down on Nigeria. They don't like to see the born and bred Vincentian build itself up and make it, unless you are tied to the foot, to the table foot, where they could see. So if you tie to the table foot, they will the only reason why you are surviving is because of them.
Yeah, and that's
And,
how they love it.
they love that. They love that. And if they try to show them, here now, I could survive without you, to them.
Mm-hmm.
They do not want you for one moment think that you're not surviving because of them. You must always remember in your head, it's because of me. It's because of them when you're surviving. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't call them, but they're the individual like that they are allowing to fly in the country because you know that they are closely knit with them. So you see the reason why they would not want any and every intention to survive.
I know.
Being independent under these people is a threat to their power, and you don't threaten these people power, you're dead. You don't threaten these people power at all, Adriana. You don't threaten the power. Anything what they threaten the power, you're dead. Whether physically, whether figuratively or literally.
Well, remember, Camilo did say.
Long as they get rid of you.
Camilo did say 2 things. 1, NDP supporters have to suffer and die. And 2, it only take 1 call. Forget a shot for man for drop down there.
Drop down, tell me.
But on that whole note, I want to bring in back something here that I was sharing to people earlier that I shared this week. That's Proverb 29:2.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
And you saw what that whole thing I wrote, I think it was this morning I wrote it, where I talked about the whole thing with the accidents and so forth. Even if people are not religious here, bigger, you have to believe in some sort of spirituality in what is happening here. And you just said to me there, right, that the 11th of February, that's what you said, right?
Yes, 11th of February.
Go be how many years?
We're making 11 years since our business was spitefully. Was spitefully. It's no other reason. It's spitefully destroyed.
And you know those figures, right? I mentioned those figures in the post I made. 1, 1, 2.
Seriously?
Seriously. Go back to the post. The van that those children got in that thing is 1, 1, 2. Go back to the post. I mentioned those numbers. And I mentioned those numbers also to Guevara. And Guevara, who also suffered at the hands of this party next week, is also his 1, 1, 2. 11 years. Same 11 years like you.
Wow.
This mentality, this thing here beginning to freak me out. It's beginning to freak me out. But there's definitely something happening in this country here.
You didn't know that 11th of February 2011 is the exact date when they tell that hatchet job against me.
I didn't know.
You see that? That's
I did not know.
Adriana, I keep
and I'm messaging Guevara here now to confirm that his is also, because he said it to me today that next week is going to be 11 years. And I'm certain he said 11th of February because I have a very good friend who's born 11th of February. So that's why I remember the date. And so when you said it now.
My mother died 11th of February too.
And Kenson, look, Kenson always says, you see this regime here? Kenson says it all the time.
And you're correct because I heard him say at time that when Michael would have set the date for the election of the 28th, I think he said it was either his mother bought there or something, you know. And he was, so when Michael set the date, Michael didn't realize was that his mother bought it. These people play around with numbers, Adrian, right?
Yeah.
They play around with numbers, and trust me, their hands are not clean.
No, they're not. They're not. And the intentions need to wake up. Wake up. Because like I said, even if you're not religious, you must know that there's something wicked happening in this country.
We were created by a creator. It didn't happen. It just didn't happen.
It just didn't happen.
But just didn't happen.
And
Yeah, because
all of these things can't be coincidence. And everybody know that Ralph is evil.
exactly, exactly, exactly. And Adriana, and another thing Vincent must never lose sight of too.
Mm-hmm.
$400 million of currency is needed to that school.
Mm-hmm.
Cement, we need over, it's not 100, over $100 million worth of cement to go with that aggregate that that man is going to produce down there. Who's going to bring in that cement? Who's
Yeah.
going to bring?
Tell me.
Look around and see who has been some of the biggest cement boat in this country. Look around there.
I hope it's
I
not
see that
I hope it's not anybody by the name of Julian and Francis.
I tell you, when this can get the amount, it's 250 a month and 350 a month, they will bring down all kind of happiness and say, oh, God, thank God this and thank God for that, to 300 a month. And they will make sure that these people get the 350 a month. Because they know keeping them quiet at 250 a month is nothing. To make sure that they bring in, that they retain and retain their millions. And Vincent can feel happy to have. Yes, I know I know some of you need it. I know we need it. I know some of us have been made to poverty. Made things thanks to be in poverty. That when we see a 200 and $200, we look at gold.
Mm-hmm.
But you will make sure you get it every month because they want to keep it quiet because they get no. So when they rate in the 100 million and the 40 million and 30 million, you get $200 every month. If that is what they will give to one of the child to go down the road to go have a good
I know, right?
a good drink of some expensive wine or something.
And we continue to put up with this abuse.
We cannot continue with this. We cannot continue with this.
Well, beggar, let me tell you this. We have to wrap up just now because we done past 11 o'clock.
But I just want to say that you could take it at the time and I will be able to keep actually.
Yeah, we will continue this again because come next week, I spoke to the lady down at the Richmondville Academy and she has agreed to come on next week, Wednesday. So hopefully when she comes on next week, Wednesday, I could also send a link with you and we could have a good discussion about that whole North Leeward issue.
But I will pass and maybe do a dry run on it too. And maybe see what maybe
the issue, yeah.
My phone and maybe do a dry one to see if it's something I'm not doing right.
Yeah, I think one of these is when you pass by or something, you'll have to stop and let me see if we can to sort it out. Something I was gonna say and you knock it out my head, you know, you knock it clean out my head.
You were going to say next week you're doing that, but they said it already.
Not that. There was something else that you were talking about just now, there, and
when I talk about the 250 and phone release support and talking about it when they collect them, they give that to so that they make sure that they continue to collect the million, raking the million.
Could be, but they're gone. But anyways, one thing I want to leave with people though is that whole idea of reading. And because before you came on, I was showing in the ULP's manifesto where they said plainly that they were going to put the quarry down there.
Oh, okay.
So Ralph had already given Reno permission. Why else would he have it in the manifesto that a quarry was going to North Leeward with a foreign contractor? Why else?
But Adriana, I put up a post and you may have seen it. I told it to people not what sorry, but it's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
This is a done deal, no? This is a done
but
deal.
We didn't realize how done the deal was done.
It doesn't care what we say and do. You see, long as you hear Julian and Ralph, he said that Quarry going there, nobody Nobody else on this earth here to prevent that fire from going.
Well, hey now, I would disagree with you on that part. Because for me, nobody looking to go through bureaucratic channels would shut down that quarry. But bigger bigs, you have plenty ways for kill ants.
But we actually been have become to those Adriana. We have the power to stop it, you know.
It have plenty ways for kill ants. Because if the people not Leeward decide that nothing happening at that quarry, nothing would happen there.
Adriana, I sat and I was thinking there was a place they said, forget the name of it now, that what it does, it's blue and it's free. And it knocks it out. And it's before it. I mean, when it knocks it, it doesn't kill it, but it's something that it, and it will knock it down. You know what I mean? That's my grief. When Ram Gonzalez speaks, Ram Gonzalez like that thing. His word is what he used to knock out Vincent and Ruben. So when he come and he threw his words out there, you will shocked to see a lot of them is going to just coil the tail and go and lie down and go back to sleep. Watch them.
Well, they need to wake up bigger. Like I said, you have a man in North Leeward looking for stones, give him stones.
I saw a post on me too, and give him plenty stones.
Give him plenty stones. The stones he can go look for, give him stones in them.
Exactly. Give him plenty stones.
Give him. Another way you want, a stones you want.
But you have faith. But I have lost our faith in Vincent when it comes to for them to fight forward, for their rights.
No, I have to still be hopeful because at the end of the day, I'm still here. We're still here. So we have to still be hopeful that they shatter your spirit. I mean, watch how close them they did to a shatter your number exile too. Come on, man. You right under the volcano. You know how a fire inside of you? Shut down the quarry. The man should see equipment and afraid for touch equipment.
Thank you very much. So let them prove me wrong. I said it. Let them prove me wrong.
He should see equipment and afraid for touch his equipment. He should just leave them there and go back where he come from. Say, I'll take them there and go on.
Thank you very much.
See and afraid.
They're not bragging about his guys, the investment the guys are going to make is about 40 million.
Yeah, but the investment is going to make bigger. We're not benefiting from it.
10 times 40 million, and the thing is invest $40 million. Even if they make back 10 times 40 million.
Exactly.
Huh?
And they already, Julie and Ralph all them don't figure out how this money here going. And we're not getting any of it.
Exactly.
We're not getting any of it.
They take a couple of siblings a tax banker to go to manage stone. You think that tax banker is going to manage stone? It's money.
Hey, so somebody asked me the other day, who is Richard Branch? Me say, I know Richard Branch. Me say Richard used to work NCB, and then he used to be in charge of building and loan. And you made a very good point there, bigger. Would Richard leave these institutions for go mine stone if you not may have money in mining stone? Okay.
Adriana, stone is similar to oil. Yeah?
Thank you.
Stone is similar to oil.
That is the best way to put it for people to explain, to understand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Me love that. Stone is St. Vincent's oil.
Thank you very much.
We watch plenty Western growing up. We know what oil is.
Thank you very much.
I love that. I have to make a note. Me write that down right now. Stone. No, I have to write this down bigger. It's SVG's oil. That's it right there. I was in it, and I know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. And it's every day. It grieves me. And I've gone to have them, before I go, should definitely restore my business. Now they are going to allow Something far worse.
To go and do foul. But what they want to lie? Gonzalez say he was lying. To give him information and lie to him.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to let him do reality. Destroy a whole river will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about pond. They're saying and build pond and all that everything.
Build pond for what?
And then kind of look at everything, Adriana, that these people lied on me about and accuse me of is what this guy is going to be done. And for me, Ralph Gonzalez somehow Ralph Gonzalez to feel it in his heart and say, you know what? So back together.
But you know, Beggar, now that they're going to allow this guy to do everything that they said that you are doing,
exactly.
It means that your case now is strengthened. Exactly. But here the only problem with this is that for you to get what is yours, for teachers to get what is theirs, for everybody to get the justice that we need to get rid of Ralph Gonzalez and this cabinet. Because just like in Luzette's case, they're going to appeal, they're going to do all kind of thing.
Point blank. Getting rid of Ralph Gonzalez.
We need to get rid of them.
Out of this country. It's only how to go back.
Mm-hmm.
To go back to where it used to be a peaceful and a place where we had harmony and peace and tranquility.
Correct.
That will never come on just to get rid of Ralph Gonzalez and
Never. They have to go. And we have to get rid of them this year. Because teachers and people who lose, we out here who losing jobs and losing homes, we don't have until 2025 for elections, because by then we will be sleeping on the road like vagrants.
Yeah, because you said something, I was following you when you said it. And it makes a lot of sense. When he's talking about traffic, he everyone causing people to have to jump on a boat, a coconut shell, anything at all that float, and leave Finland, not knowing where they are going, what harm and danger they will be into, because they see that people will just lose the job just because they didn't take a job.
That's it. And everybody else, around the world, freeing up their mandates, freeing up their countries, trying to deal with COVID in a sensible manner, because they realize, okay, the vaccine's definitely not working. All these boosters ain't cutting it, but yet here you are, because you ain't collect your part of the pie yet. You ain't collect your part of the pie yet. So you have to make sure you get your piece of the pie. So you have to deal with intentions in this kind of hostile way. But I keep saying this, deal with Ralph the way Ralph deals with you. Cold. When Ralph could leave our children at the hospital to die, when he could fly out for MRI for a scrape on his head, you have to deal with Ralph like that. You have to deal with him cold. Now love who not love you. And that's what intentions need to wake up. So with that, we go end here tonight. We're going to 2 hours and a half. But definitely bigger.
I just started to get it.
That's okay. I'm glad we were still able to hear you. People were still able to hear you, and they've been following the conversation. Somebody just said, "Hey, Guyanese have oil, Vincentians have stones."
Exactly. And lots of it too. And lots of it we have too. We have lots of it. And I tell you, somebody, some family, somebody somewhere going to make a lot of money out of filming the stone, which is our oil.
And it's not Vincentians.
But it's not Vincentian.
No. And if it's any Vincentian, or Ralph and Julian and their family. That's it.
That's it right there. That's it right there.
And whichever one of them ministers tumble over themselves enough to get into the nitty-gritty of the project, whether it's Carlos or Saboto, they will get their cut too.
No, and they won't only get a small.
Yeah, they ain't going to get much. They ain't going to get much. And Vincentians need to wake up to these realities. Stop pussyfooting around these things. Deal with these people cold, because they deal with us cold.
They need to let go of the 250 and it's another month, because there's much more they could get more than that.
Exactly. They could have sustained wealth, not just some money passing through their hand for go down the road and buy some bears.
Exactly.
You could have wealth that you could pass on to your children, which is what they didn't want with you. So they had to shut you down because your children ain't supposed to reach nowhere.
Before you go, the 250 that they give Vincent to live on for a whole month is what someone else does go and buy a meal for to eat. That is what someone else, one single meal.
One meal.
That is what someone else does for one single meal. One single meal for one of them alone.
Correct.
Vincent to down there.
Correct. So Beggar, thank you again for popping on, and you will shout me.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Okay.
All right. So that was Beggar Biggs. Thank you for those who have stayed up until this hour. We don't normally go this long, but you understand I was trying to get him on for a while and eventually just had to call him. So thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for being here. And I trust that tonight was informative. I trust that you have gained a better understanding of what is going to happen in North Leeward. And I trust that those who do hear what we've said here tonight would realize that it is really a must that quarry be shut down by absolutely any means, because at the end of the day, we're not benefiting from it. If we want material for construction and so forth, we could have smaller quarries elsewhere in areas that are safer for the little things that we have to do here in this country. Why are we giving a man 99% of our stones, of our oil for himself? That's what we're doing, you know. We are giving him 99% of what is happening down there, and we're keeping 1%. What sort of stupid deal is that? This is why people say you can't have a bunch of lawyers in government. Anybody with business sense will tell you that does not make, as a matter of fact, you don't even have to have business sense. You just have to have a brain that works. You are making a product. You have a product, and you're telling the man, here what? This is my bread. I have 10 bread here. You sell 9 and bring back 1 for me. Bring back the sale from 1. Well, sell all of them. You keep the sales from 9. Give me the sales from 1. That makes sense to you? That makes sense to you? So you have to ask the question now. When the man sell the 9 bread, who are getting money from that? If Vincentian's getting the sale from 1, who getting the money from the 9? Ask Ralph that question and ask Julian Francis that question. Who is getting money? Plain straight. Who getting money from the 99% that is being exported from St. Vincent and Grenadines? Because it's not Vincentians. And I don't see Ralph and Julian to make a deal that will put the country at a disadvantage and put themselves at a disadvantage too. Vincentians, wake up. It is now to get rid of this licorice, corrupt, evil, demonic, lecherous, whatever government that we have here. It's time to get rid of all of them, because none of them good. And with that, I bid you farewell. Good night.